False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who knows that rock and roll ain't noise pollution. And he's not beating around the bush when he says any confrontation with Steve Sarkisian is a touch too much. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Let there be rock. How are you?
Well, hell's bells, I'm happy to be here, my friend. No, doing good, man. Happy to be previewing a national championship game. It's a little, bittersweet moment. It's the end of the college football season. We're not
Yeah.
stopping, but it is the end of the college football season.
Yes, we are. We are back in black. Cody actually died, so I'm actually talking to his specter right now.
Rest in peace, baby.
Rest in peace and peace. But yeah, for this being the national championship, we are going to be doing just like Novocaine, we're bringing it back in
Hmm.
black.
Yeah,
So we're
we
going to do a
are.
double feature of AC/DC. So we got six songs from Bon Scott. So basically their earliest through Highway to Hell, and then Brian Johnson with Back in Black and whatever crap came after that. But that's where
Yeah.
we're
He came
that's
out with he came out with a banger and then it kind of teetered off from there.
it's like me trying to run. You run out of gas a little bit.
100%. Much like Gimli from Lord of the Rings, we aren't made over long distances. We're natural sprinters.
I saw somewhere that hobbits aren't adults until they turn 30. They're still considered children. I'm like, at 35, I'm like, I get that now.
I mean, Tolkien might have been onto something.
He sure was, or he might have been on something. But clearly we have false started here, and we're going to start with our first and 15 with playoffs. You're kidding me. We're going to be previewing the national championship between Ohio State and Notre Dame. We're going to pick a winner, and this is the last game of bowling with Antonio, and gotta have faith, like Limp Bizkit.
That's or George Michael, either or.
Is that a cover? I just know it's called Faith. It doesn't
I have
matter.
no idea.
It's good. It's Limp Bizkit. Who cares? But yes, we got the number 7 seed playing the number 8 seed in Atlanta, 4 miles from me, and the number 8 seed is heavily favored, I believe, because Ohio State's got talent and Notre Dame's got heart. And this is a false start.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like that really is what this comes down to is I look at this matchup and I do not know how Notre Dame is going to be able to be effective in a lot of what they're doing. Like you look at one of the reasons they had a lot of success against Penn State. And first and foremost, it was on defense. They dared Drew Aller and Penn State to throw to their wide receivers. Penn State didn't have the wide receivers to do that. And this is still a Notre Dame secondary that I think has been tested once since they lost Benjamin Morrison, and that was against USC. And Jaden Maeva threw for, I think, 360. So, like,
Yeah.
this is a group that can be had without Benjamin Morrison on the field. And Ohio State is obviously a group that can take full advantage of that.
Yeah, I think the other big thing is at this stage of the season, the offensive lines are completely banged up. We obviously know about Simmons and McLaughlin being out for Ohio State. Obviously, I think that there's several injuries there along the offensive line for Notre Dame. Rocco Spindler's not doing so hot. I'm trying to think who the left tackle that's out, but Charles Jaguse is coming back, so
Yeah,
that's
Anthony
a big
Knapp is the dude who's
Anthony
out.
Knapp. I'm
Yeah,
like because of the K, I'm like, is it Carey? No, it's
it's
Knapp.
close enough.
Five letters of the K. It's close enough. But that's going to be potentially an issue, particularly with Jack Sawyer and JTT pinning their ears back and everything
Yeah.
like that. But Ohio State will give up yards. They will give up points too. So Riley Leonard, Faison, and Jeremiah Love, they'll get theirs as well, I would figure.
I I think so. One of the things I am worried about a little bit is yes, Jagusa's back on the left side and going to slide back in, but like, is he 100% healthy? Like, he tore his pec like 4 months ago. I don't know, man. It feels like you might be rushing this just a little bit. So, like, I still worry about the effectiveness of him slipping in there. And like, with how Notre Dame runs their offense, like we still know they're not a great passing team. Like Riley Leonard had a passing touchdown that where Cam Miller fell down against Jaden Greathouse, and then Greathouse took it to the house against Penn State. But like outside of that, right, let's not forget Riley Leonard threw 2 picks in that game. Riley Leonard threw, I think, for under 250 yards. Like he's never going to be an elite passer in this. And like I think to beat Ohio State, you have to have a passing offense because you look back at like, yes, they have some yardage. A lot of it's been through the air, man. Like their run defense is pretty stout. And with a compromised offensive line, I really worry what they're going to be able to do in this one.
you go back to the quarterback play, and I'm of the belief that there is margin for error from Will Howard. He's playing very well.
Mhm.
He's helping elevate his draft stock
Yeah,
considerably. I don't know if he's a first round guy, but if he keeps playing like this, he's playing in big moments. Maybe he takes advantage of the situation because
yeah.
I guess QB3 is Jalen Milrow. I don't really
QB3 is throw up your hands and pray.
in the a
Yes,
year.
right.
But I feel with Wiley Leonard, like he's got to play about perfect to keep pace. I almost feel that Notre Dame has to win turnover margin to have any chance. Like
Mhm.
if it's even or if they're behind, they've got really no shot.
No, it's super interesting you say that because when I was talking to Reed Wallach and Josh Yorish about this, Reed harkened back to the first round game for Penn State and SMU, and he was basically saying the only way say goodbye to the NC State podcast.
By NC State podcast.
But he was basically saying that the only way, like the path to victory for SMU was winning the turnover battle and getting Penn State like behind the sticks essentially. And I think that really applies to Notre Dame here because if you let Ohio State get out in front of you, like it might be night night because I just don't like. I look at this Notre Dame offense, and yes, the receivers had some success against Penn State, but as Josh Yorish, I appreciated having a Penn State fan on to really unpack all of this, but the slot corner spot with where Cam Miller was playing has been an issue for Tom Allen's defense all year for Penn State, and that's where Jaden Greathouse plays. That's where they took advantage of it, and that's why Emeka Egbuka had a big game against Penn State as well because that slot corner spot has been an issue for most of the season. I'm still not the highest on Ohio State secondary, but they don't necessarily have like one weak spot. They have like a bunch of good spots that aren't great, and that's kind of why I'm not the highest on it. But like, I don't think it's an area you can take advantage, and I don't think Notre Dame has the ability to take advantage of that. So I think you're looking at Riley Leonard with his legs, and you're looking at Jeremiah Love and Price with his legs. Outside of, but like, I'm still not confident that's going to be enough to keep up with Ohio State. Like, the way Ohio State has been playing in this playoff, you're gonna have to have success throwing the ball to beat them, and I don't know if they necessarily have the guys to do that.
Right there with you. Really, the big thing for me is I'm comparing the offenses of both these teams to NFL teams. The Notre Dame one's pretty similar. It's kind of like the Ravens and the Titans under Mike Vrabel. Like they're good when they're leading, but when they don't really have the horses to play from behind. Whereas Ohio State, that's kind of like the Bengals when they're firing all cylinders, the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins and stuff. It's kind of got there's some qualities there of the Chiefs and the Bills as well. But like when
Yeah.
those teams are humming, like they can catch up with anybody. Whereas like if Notre Dame is behind the eight ball, unless they can force turnovers, I just don't see the offense having the downfield threat or the ability to pick up yards in a hurry with their limited passing game. Again, like if Faison's playing fantastically and he's just getting whatever he wants in the slot, that's a huge advantage for Notre Dame. I could see that discombobulating the Ohio State defense a little bit, but like the quick plays, like the quick, like Patrick Mahomes just flings it to Tyreek Hill for 75 yards. Like that's not happening. I mean,
No.
you have to hand the ball off to Jeremiah Love, and that happens once in a blue moon. That happened versus Indiana. This is false start.
Right, exactly. And like I also look at it like I can't get this thought out of my head. Like this isn't to disparage Notre Dame because like, kudos for you to get in this point. We didn't give you really a chance to get to the national championship game, and here you are. So, maybe they can prove us wrong again, but I'll keep looking back at it. I think Texas is the best team that Ohio State has played this season. I was on the Texas bandwagon in terms of talent, in terms of what that defense was capable of, and I think we saw it really slow down Ohio State. Like
Yeah.
Ohio State's offense scored 21 points in that game. They did not like the last touchdown was the Jack Sawyer fumble return. So like they gave Ohio State fits, and I like compare that Texas defense to what I'm seeing from Notre Dame. And like Notre Dame is a good defense. They're well coached under Al Golden. They're going to have some stuff up their sleeve to try to like make things at least a little more difficult for this Ohio State and this talent laden offense. But at the same time, I don't think you have the dudes, man. I don't think you have the same dudes that Texas does out there. And like Ohio State's got a lot of dudes on offense.
Like we got to the point where these are the two best teams in the country. They were built for this in one way or another. So like these are the two best teams. And it's just like I've saw like Notre Dame is the best team Georgia played all year. They smoked us, and it's
Yeah.
probably one of the better. I mean, what Penn State played both Notre Dame and Ohio State, and
Yeah.
that's tough there. And I feel that like again it's the variance. Notre Dame does not have that much. Ohio State is a lot. If Ohio
Mhm.
State plays terribly, they can lose. But if Ohio State plays up to their standard, I have a hard time seeing Notre Dame catching them. And again, this is their lot in life. Like they were always going to be the underdog we pick in every single game. It's the same like thing. The Houston Texans are always going to be playing at 4:30 on Saturday in the first wild card window. That's just what it's about. The Jaguars are going to go to London.
What are we gonna do if the Texans don't make the playoffs? Who's gonna play in that spot? Are we just gonna leave it open as like a memorial to the Texans not being in the playoffs?
I mean, that's when we play, dude. That's what we play. It's like let's just find like a bottom middle like fan base in a
Yeah,
large metro area and just put it there. Let's do
yeah,
that.
100%.
If it's not the Falcons, that's the Texans or the Bengals or the Commanders. Just put them there. Let's
Yeah,
just do that.
it seems like a Bucks spot too if the Bucks get
Yeah,
there. Like that's that. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
very Bucky of them.
Yeah, 100%.
Who else would fit in that spot too? It's not you guys. You guys are prime time.
Yeah, the Cowboys don't fall into that category.
Saints
Charger,
maybe.
Chargers and Rams, I feel like also qualify because like yes, huge market, but also like not the biggest fan bases. So like I feel like they're a prime candidate for that spot.
Yeah, but it's the Texans. It's
It's the Texans spot until someone comes and takes it from their cold dead fingers.
And come take it from our cold dead fingers. Let's make a pick for this game. You go first.
So I'm going Ohio State 35, Notre Dame 13. I don't think it's going to be close, man. I think we might get another blowout.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I've got Ohio State 41, Notre Dame 21.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and I mean it is what it is. They'd be like that.
And I think for me, it's just like it'll be close for a while, but the turnover differential is going to be the issue. I think that like the pass rush for Ohio State's just the difference here. I think Sawyer and JTT are about to make themselves a lot of money
Yeah.
on Monday night. Sawyer will be a first round pick after this game. JTT probably a second round pick. We'll see what happens. But like, I mean, Ohio State's just playing the right football at the right time.
Yeah.
And unless the Ryan Day of it all, I think they've got this in the bag.
No, 100%. I mean, as I've said many times, my frustration with Ohio State the entire season was they were capable of this. Now they're showing they're capable of it and living up to their potential. So I can't fault, like, I can't pick those holes in Ohio State that I was because they haven't been playing with those holes.
I'll finish with this. For as funny as it would be as if Notre Dame won, I don't know about. I've got a neighbor who lives in the apartment right across the parking lot from me from Ohio State, and he drives a gigantic truck, which is ridiculous in Atlanta, fresh
Yes.
out of Columbus. Yeah, and sometimes he can't really park. He kind of parks like an a-hole, so I don't want him to smash me or the Arizona State Bobcats car, and out of frustration. So maybe I think like if I'm out and about in Atlanta, I think it'll be annoying if Notre Dame wins, but it'll be awful if Ohio State loses.
Yeah, it's a real lose-lose situation we got going on here.
Yeah, I know it's going to be an MLK day to never forget and remember, but we're going to move on to our next topic here. We're going to ask ourselves a question about college football and the national championship. We're going to do some do Host here with this. Cody, do Host. Who would be a better NFL head coach between Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman?
Good question, man. I have no idea. I'm gonna go do Haas 1S with Marcus Freeman. And I think Marcus Freeman's my guy because when I look at what Marcus Freeman has been able to do in such a short time at Notre Dame, I think about all the machinations that had to fall into place for him to do that. He's been recruiting at a higher level than Brian Kelly was. He's been able to try different things at quarterback. Like you think of the difference between Sam Hartman and Riley Leonard that we've seen play quarterback for this team the past 2 years. Those two quarterbacks could not be more different from one another. And like the fact that he had success with Hartman, even though less so, and now is having in the national championship game with Riley Leonard, I think it really shows a lot of versatility that I think is necessary to succeed as an NFL head coach, especially a young head coach without much experience. Like if you go into the NFL without any real NFL experience, particularly as that at that level of like head coach or coordinator level, I look at you and I think, okay, you're going to have some pitfalls that you're going to fall into. How do you get out of them? How do you adjust? And how do you get better from that? And Marcus Freeman has shown the ability to do that. Whereas I'm not sure Ryan Day has necessarily showed that. When I look at Ryan Day, yes, he's obviously had tremendous success. Yes, he's obviously getting over some sort of hump. He also has the most expensive roster in the college football. He also has the advantages that Ohio State inherently has as a college football program when it comes to recruiting. Like he's sitting in the catbird seat of college football, and he's finally making good on it. That's why people were calling for Ryan Day's job, is because he wasn't making good on it. So I haven't necessarily seen him have to adjust, have to face trials necessarily beyond ones that are self-inflicted.
Yeah, so I realize now we put this out there like Duhas doesn't really work for this question. We put
I
this
tried to
together.
save it. I tried to save it, but it's okay.
It's okay. So I'm gonna go I'm gonna go Duhast with one S on it being Marcus Freeman better long term, but I think in short term, Duhast one S Ryan Day is the better fit.
Okay.
So there I go, saved it.
I like it.
Dale didn't say that. So I think Ryan Day's coaching experience in Philadelphia and San Francisco for what a combined 4 years
Mhm.
matters. I think, yeah, that maybe that was about a decade or so ago, but I think also the fact that he is a play caller, he's a former quarterback. He coached quarterbacks on Chip Kelly's staff, both in Eagles and 49ers. I think having that advantage helps you a little bit initially. Like I feel that he goes there with like a decent quarterback, has success right away. But when it comes to, like elevating beyond like taking a team like yours or ours to the playoffs,
Right.
it's like, okay, can we get past the NFC Championship game? I'm not so sure it is. Like he seems like an NFL head coach who'd have like essentially a Matt Nagy kind of like run where it's like you have two pretty good years and two horrific years.
Yeah, no, I could definitely, that actually is a really good point, because like I was thinking long term when I said Marcus Freeman, because I think like if you like someone who's going to take the job and hold on to it for a long time, I think that would favor Marcus Freeman for that. Someone who I think could have immediate success because of their experience level. Yeah, it's definitely Ryan Day in that capacity, because, and you also think like, I mean, honestly, very reminiscent of what his mentor Chip Kelly did in the
Yeah.
NFL. Like I think that's very similar to what they could do. Like we saw Chip Kelly have some years, I think of the Michael Vick Eagles, and I'm just looking at that and I was like, oh my God, like how can you possibly stop this? Didn't win a Super Bowl doing that, but it was pretty fun while it lasted, and then it flamed out very quickly. And I could see Ryan Day doing something pretty similar.
Yeah, I could see that. As far as Marcus Freeman, like he has no coaching experience in the NFL. I don't think that matters, but the stupid octogenarian billionaire owners that might matter. I think he went undrafted out of Ohio State,
Mhm.
had like a cup of coffee with like three teams in '09, like the Lions, the Bears, the Bengals. Oh my, I don't
Oh
know.
my, yes, sir.
I think he is the exact head coach that the Steelers need to get rid of Mike Tomlin for. Like he fits
Mm,
exactly what you need. You need a guy who is young, defensive minded, who can handle adversity, who's really good at the podium. I don't know if Chuck Noll was good at it, but obviously Bill Cowher works in television. Mike Tomlin soon will. I also think that like Freeman's like not going to be like the Mike Tomlin of it all. I write awful things about him like at least once a week. It's just I'm so done.
no, I mean, I think a lot of Steelers fans share your sentiment. So you're not like, I think you might have been on an island prior to this season, because I know you've been on that bandwagon for quite a bit. A lot of Steelers fans are definitely joining you after this season, and I think that's a really good call. Like I think that it's weird because Notre Dame is obviously a prestigious academic institution, but when I think about football, I like the football team makes me think of like blue collar. And so like I think he would need to go to a blue collar NFL team. Like whether you're talking about the Steelers, I mean like whether or not the Bears would go for it, like I think like he would actually be one of the more ideal fits for the Bears. Like I think that's someone who could really turn things around there culturally. You look at I'm not that Zach Taylor's going anywhere, but Cincinnati, I think, can make a lot of sense for him. Like, I think anywhere like in that Midwest footprint would really make a lot of sense for him.
I also think he would do quite well in like a port city too and bring in
Mm.
some sort of thing. Like if he were to go to any of the Florida teams at some point, I think he'd have success.
Ooh,
I
I
think that
just I just had an idea. Make him John Harbaugh's successor in Baltimore, dude.
that would be pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he could work there. He could replace Todd Bowles. He could replace Mike McDaniel. He could replace whoever replaces Doug Peterson in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Like, I think the one place that I think he'd have a hard time would be, I think Dallas would be very difficult for him.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think Denver would be very hard for him as well.
I think that's probably right.
Trying to think anywhere else that would be Kansas City. I mean,
Yeah.
that's an impossible situation.
I think Seattle would also be pretty
Yeah,
hard. I can't like that's just like I know that's a port city, but I just think it's a weird fit.
yeah, I don't think that that would be a good one, but like he'd fit in a lot of places. I think with him, he just has like he'd be the type of coach that like could get the Jets, the Bears, the Jaguars out of their perpetual quagmire because like he's just like I'm an alpha male, but it's like the quiet, cool confidence.
Mhm.
Uh, young enough to relate to players and stuff like that, would basically kind of get alignment here. And he'd make his predecessor look like a buffoon in the rain. Look at Brian Kelly screwing himself top Coughlin purple down there. And that's LSU's colors. It's gold and Tom Coughlin purple.
That's right. Yes, sir. No, and I think like when you think of Marcus Freeman, you talk about pulling him out of the quagmire. Like I think of obviously it didn't go their way, but one of the things that really stood out to me on Monday, not this past Monday with the Vikings Rams, when I was tuning into that was even though things were going obviously pretty damn poorly for the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell was unflappable. Like Kevin
Yeah.
O'Connell looked cool, calm, and collected, and it reminded me a lot of Marcus Freeman in the semifinals. Like even when things were against them against Penn State, even when it looked like they might lose, like he was a cool customer. And like I think sometimes like having someone who has that alpha male mentality, but like you said, the cool, quiet type of alpha male mentality, that can like emanate throughout the entire roster.
I think he'd be able to draft well. I just wonder how great of a staff he'd do. Like he'd bring Al Golden with him to be his DC. I think that's pretty easy. But like,
Yeah.
you think Denbrock's going to work in the NFL? I don't think so.
Nah, I don't think
Well,
so.
like, who's your play call? You want to get Brian Hartline a call?
I honestly, I think you, if you're Marcus Freeman, the smart move if you go to the NFL would be getting like a veteran offensive coordinator. Like he's out of work now with Mike McCarthy out in Dallas, but like someone like Brian Schottenheimer, who isn't the
Yeah.
best offensive coordinator, but can kind of like show you the ropes because he's been around the ropes many times.
Oh, yeah, you get like a Brian Schottenheimer, you get a Doug Peterson, you get like a Darren
Yeah,
Bevel, some sort of guy like that. The next dirt cutter, if you will. Like you get somebody
yeah,
like that. Yeah, like
yeah.
that's been around and seen some things. Todd Monken, you want to come on
Todd
down?
Monk,
It's been
yeah.
I've been in Baltimore too long. Let's go.
I can't eat any more crab. I got to get out of
Did you
here.
see this thing from Jimmy's Seafood where she's like, here's our vegan options, and it's like a Greek salad with feta in it. It's like you realize cheese isn't vegan. You guys even care? It's like actually we don't care.
Jimmy C's is something else.
Crab cakes and football. This is fall stuff. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. These are two coaches that the NFL has had its eye on. I think that like along with Steve Sarkisian, Lincoln Riley's been tied to it. Apparently, Mike Locksley. I think Mike Locksley would be a really good NFL offensive coordinator.
Offensive coordinator, yes, but the Jets interviewed him for head coach, which I have my doubts about.
No, no, that wouldn't work out well at all. But yeah, you got any other thoughts about these two coaches before we move on to the next most important topic?
I will say, if you're an Ohio State fan, and but we're not predicting it, we don't think it's going to happen. But if by some miracle Ohio State loses this game, don't call for Ryan Day's job. Like, don't do it. Like, I know he needs to beat Michigan. I know he needs to win a national championship, but he got to the national championship game, y'all. Like, that's it. I think 132 other programs in the country would kill to have a coach who could do that.
You also got to remember how great the coaching is in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you get down to like 11 and 12 and you're dealing with the Greg Schianos of the world. Like it's
Yeah.
it's like, are you sure that you're going to get somebody who's definitively better than Dan Lanning? I don't know if the top of the Big Ten coaching is like that great. I'd probably say like for what he's got, like Brett Bielema is probably way up there.
Oh, yeah. 100%. With the way Illinois consistently overachieves, absolutely.
Yeah, but then it's like, you don't want to put yourself like in a situation where like, oh, we move on from like what the third or fourth best head coach in the Big Ten, and we're down like 13. We're down there with like we're down there with the Matt Rules of the world, who again, like that's ridiculous. He's even that far down.
No, 100%. And like you also like, I mean, look at Alabama because there are serious questions about what Kalen DeBoer year two at Alabama is going to look like with what he's losing and frankly what he's bringing in. And you lose the best. Like I know Ryan Day is not Nick Saban, but it could be a similar type of drop off. It could be a similar type of drop off where you're, like you said, you're talking about someone being in the Matt Rule range, which you think Ohio State fans are mad now. Just see what happens when that comes around.
Yeah, I know. It's like I think Chris Landers was picking my brain for an article yesterday about the quarterback room and the SEC with Quinn Ewers going pro and everything like that. He's like, yeah, once you get past like uh Taylor Green there at Arkansas, it's like it's a bunch of I don't know. And it's like, yeah, I'm bullish on Gunnar Stockton, but he's only seen a little bit of him. It's like how bad must Ty Simpson be to not play at Alabama?
I mean, he's a nepo baby. What can we say?
Yeah, the UT Martin Skyhawks soar, I guess.
That's right.
And speaking about soaring, there's not going to be any sore losers when you're going to put somebody in the slot. Let's do this. Let's figure out who we think is going to be in the slot after Monday night. Like who's like MVPs, if you will. Like who's going to be the guy we're talking about on Thursday? Because our Monday night after we do this semi-live with Yards in the Cloud, but yes, we'll be doing that for Monday and then regular episode on Thursday.
Yes, sir. So in the slot, there's a lot of good options, a lot of talent on in this game. I think the first one that came to mind for me was Travion Henderson,
Yeah,
because I think that we saw in the Texas game how he has that game-breaking ability. That game was about to go into halftime at 7-7. They throw a screen to Travion Henderson. He takes it 75 yards to the house. And it goes back to, I think, one of the smartest things Ohio State has done this season. I don't know if it's a Chip Kelly decision, a Ryan Day decision, or just a program decision, but being able to have Quinshon Judkins in there and to spell Travion Henderson has made Travion Henderson a much better player.
yeah,
He has made him a more explosive player, because I think we saw last year, as the injuries have started to pile up for Henderson over his college career, when he's getting 20 carries a game, carries 12 through 20 look a lot worse than carries 1 through 12. And
right.
so like now that we're getting him those limited touches, those touches are more impactful. And I think there's a world where Quinshon Judkins in this game is actually probably more of the straw that's stirring the drink for this team. But Travion Henderson has the big play ability that kind of just breaks this game open in favor of Ohio State. So like he's going to be the one that we put in the slot, because he's going to be the one that we remember, like, oh, remember when, Notre Dame was kind of keeping it close and then Travion Henderson broke one for 45 yards to the house. Like that, I feel like that's the situation we're heading toward.
I can feel that. That was my pick for a player. So I'm going to pivot on the fly. I'm going to go with the coach. Give me Jim Knowles.
Ooh, I like that. I like that
I
too.
feel I feel like we're gonna have one of those games where, yes, I mean, I picked Ohio State to win 41-21, but like this is gonna be one of those things where like the Buckeyes are gonna win despite Ryan Day in some capacity. Like there'll
Yeah.
be a couple of play calls where it's like he goes fourth and Sark on Ohio State. It's like, what are
Yeah.
we doing here? It's in Stark. He's done it twice to Texas and the Falcons, so we know what
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah.
Like rather than putting Jack Sawyer in it, like he would have been after the Cotton Bowl last week.
Yeah.
I feel that we're going to see a performance out of Knowles akin to Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl over the Chiefs with Todd Bowles and Knowles. Kind of like Brian Flores when he was with with the Patriots and they beat the Rams in Atlanta in 2018. So like we're looking at like maybe Buddy Ryan with the Bears like in '85. We're looking at some sort of level of just absolute dominance defensively. Maybe Dan Lanning a little bit there too back at Georgia, although that
Yeah.
maybe not so much there. But like we're looking at a guy where, from a coaching standpoint, like we're so lucky to have him. He should be a head coach right now. The fact he's not doesn't make any sense. And it's just like as long as they've got him on their staff, Ohio State's going to be a national championship
Mm-hmm.
contender, no matter who their head coach is.
No, 100%. I can't get this thought in my head, and I have to say it because you brought it up with Bowles and Knowles. Just made me think of like a JFK assassination themed bowling alley, Bowles and Knowles. We're just going
Like,
out there. That's some 8:15 Mountain Time thoughts this morning. But
that's
anyway,
fine.
let's go. So we're picking Ohio State to win. So we have two Ohio State candidates for the slot. Let's say Notre Dame wins. Who is in the slot if Notre Dame wins for you?
It'd be Al Golden. It's the same sort of thing.
That's
I
who I
feel
had
that
as well. That's who I was
it's,
thinking.
so if it's not Al Golden, like I would say the player of note.
I think it's got to be Riley Leonard, because
Yeah,
I think that I am not giving them much credence because I have enough respect for JTT and Jack Sawyer to kind of mitigate this. But I think if Notre Dame wants to have success offensively, Riley Leonard's going to need another big game with his legs. And we know that Mike Denbrock's not afraid to do that. We
no,
know that that's not the case at all. But I think that if Riley Leonard is able to escape the pressure that he is going to face with a compromised offensive line against this defensive front, Riley Leonard is going to have to make some plays with his legs in like ways that we may not have seen before. And if he does that, then maybe Notre Dame does have a chance. And like I think that's why, like, if we're not going Al Golden, because like I think Al Golden is the obvious answer, because you're gonna have to slow Ohio State down sometime. I don't think you have the dudes, but you might have the scheme.
yeah, Al Golden. I mean, he beat his alma mater at Penn State.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, honestly, if Marcus Freeman does go pro, just give Al Golden the job. He's got this for Notre Dame. He'll be fine.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be great.
I mean, he doesn't have to worry about sweating through his button down shirt.
Look, man, some of us sweat. We can't help it.
It says the guy who wears jeans in Atlanta in the summertime. Yours truly. There we go.
That could never be me, dude. I'm wearing the shortest shorts possible because I need the breathability.
I just like the compression. The compression, and I hate myself. That's how that goes. But yeah, Riley Leonard would have to play the game of his life, and maybe it'll elevate his draft stock, and he can go play for the Jets.
Good luck, brother. Have fun with that.
But that transitions nicely to a slice of pumpkin pie here. We're gonna
Yes,
put
sir.
I don't know if we're gonna put some dudes on a team, but we're gonna probably talk about the draft loosely with some of the top prospects. We're gonna touch on Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau. I'm never gonna say that correctly. JTT, Riley Leonard, Xavier Watts. Let's throw Mecca Ibuka in there too. And if
Yeah.
there's Benjamin Morrison, I guess if we want to round that out.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll start with Morrison because we won't see him in this game. Obviously, I think that's an easy place to start just to make sure we mention him. But I mean, this is probably the second best cornerback in the class for 2025. And unfortunate that we don't get to see, I would kill to watch him be matched up with Jeremiah Smith in this game. Like, that would be a hell of a lot of fun. I might give Notre Dame more of a puncher's chance than I am right now if that were the case, because he is that damn good. And I he's probably not going to go until I would say the back half of the first round, but he is going to be a first round pick despite the injury. Should be able to work out at the combine. I'm looking at teams like I think the Rams would make a lot of sense for them. That's like kind of the next step for the Rams in terms of their building blocks. They need to upgrade that secondary a little bit. I think he'd make a lot of sense there. The Vikings would make a lot of sense if he got there. Looking a little bit earlier than that, your Falcons might be one of the first teams that could potentially take him off the board, like if they want to get aggressive at cornerback. So there's a lot of, I mean, there's no team in the NFL that couldn't use another really damn good cornerback, is really what it comes down to.
Precisely. So when you say he's the second quarterback, you're basically saying like we don't know Travis Hunter's his own thing, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Travis Hunter is Travis Hunter. He's the Travis Hunter position.
Yeah, and then it's Will Johnson and then Benjamin Morrison.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So follow me on this. It seems as though most mocks have Will Johnson going 5 to the Jags.
A lot of them, yeah.
What if like in the second round they just double down and then they get
I mean, would it be the worst idea? Because their secondary is booty cheeks, man.
Falcons did that back in the day with Desmond Trufant and Robert Alford, and that worked out pretty well.
I was about to say worked out pretty good because they were there for a hot minute, man.
Yeah, that'd be great, and that would help out Jacksonville considerably. I think they just got to go defense heavy at this point, because I guess that's why Trent Baalke is keeping his job. He can draft pretty well, but everything else is to the team's detriment.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a more obvious thing that they're gonna double up on defense, whether it's one position or two different ones. But if they were to hire Robert Saleh, that's the most of you might draft
Yeah.
8 defensive players in that draft.
I also think Benjamin Morrison could be a pick for like a team that's still playing, maybe the Chiefs at the end of the first round. Atlanta's probably about as high as he'd come off the board, maybe Atlanta or Indianapolis, somewhere in that range. And then looking further down, Rams could always, who knows what the Rams want to do, man. It doesn't,
The Rams are at this point, I just blindly trust the Rams unless need where they're drafting. It probably isn't going to be the pick that I would make, but I would have said that about Jared Verse and shows what I know. And that had nothing to do with Jared Verse. I was like, is that really what the Rams are lacking as an edge rusher? It turns out, yeah, because Jared Verse is pretty damn good.
I think there's 2 teams in the NFL. I'm I have no idea what they're gonna do with the draft. It's the Rams and the Seahawks. Everybody else, I have some idea of those 2. I'm like, I don't know. And then don't ever tell the Bengals what to do. They're just gonna do what they're gonna do.
I mean, that's kind of just the Seahawks general vibe, not just in the draft. I have when it comes to prognosticating in a given game, coming to what's talking about what they're going to look like in the preseason and how they're going to play this season, I miss the Seahawks every single time because I have no clue. That team is, I would argue, the biggest enigma in the NFL because you never know what you're going to get from them.
All right, inside baseball. So the Arizona State podcast has created this thing called the third quarter perspective. It helps her watch football with dating me. So basically, it's like, girls, you can do whatever you want. Nothing really matters until the third quarter. And you and I are flipping out about something stupid that happened in the first quarter. And I'm like, that works for most teams, except for the Falcons and Seahawks. For the Falcons, anything that can go wrong will, and for the Seahawks, anything that can go right will. So that's how that goes. It's like, yeah, turning in here. Yeah, this is not looking good. So
Dude, you like I think there's two picks that really embody what the Seahawks are as an organization to me. One is the Rashad Penny pick, which I think people forget. Like they drafted Rashad Penny in the first round. Like never
yeah.
forget about that. And I'm totally blanking on his name right now, but the edge rusher out of TCU that they took like a round earlier than everyone thought was going to go.
And then they also hit with like Chris Carson in the seventh round. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's mind blowing. Like they are people used to give Bill Belichick a lot of crap because he would miss on the Patriots first round pick, but then hit on everything else throughout the rest of the draft. The Seahawks do that more consistently than Bill Belichick did.
I think it's just something having a John JOH in
Yeah.
your office, John Lynch, John Schneider, just whatever,
Yeah.
just operate without consequence. I bet Chris Ballard's middle name's John.
Oh,
John
100%.
John Christopher Ballard.
John Christopher. Hey, John Christopher's not a bad name.
What if it's like John Christoph or Christian? John Christian?
No, we reject the premise.
We reject the premise. Yeah, Benjamin Morrison, we touched on that. We've always touched on Emeka Egbuka yesterday on the Blog Nerdy podcast when Cody came on. We think he's going to go to somewhere like the Cowboys potentially. That's where you want him to go. I've also saw him slotted to the Steelers, which I think is stupid.
Mhm.
Like, just write it out with George Pickens. If he's a problem, trade him or like don't bring him back.
Yeah.
You need to get a quarterback. Like
Yeah.
go draft Quinn Ewers or Jalen Miller at 21.
Do something. Like I don't know what the Steelers are going to be. I'm wondering if the night, the above 500 streak is about to come to an end, and we might see Mike Tomlin looking for another job after next year.
I mean, he'll be working for like is he more of a CBS or an NBC guy or a Fox guy or an ESPN guy?
I'm gonna go. Excuse me. I'm gonna go NBC just because I can kind of see him feeling something similar to like the Tony Dungy role.
Yeah,
Like as a coach, kind of a no nonsense guy, but like when you like kind of let his hair down a little bit, it's a little bit different, and he is kind of enjoyable to watch on the broadcast. Like I can see him occupying that role.
Coach, how you feel? Well, it's cold as hell out here. So
Exactly.
it's cold as out here. This team sucks. I'm picking the other team. We're not picking our picks yet. I said what I said.
Can we cut away? I want to go sit next to the heater again. It's freaking cold.
They combat. He just combats with Rodney Harrison the whole time.
You're the dirtiest player I've ever seen, Rodney.
Yes, absolutely. It's like him and Dale Carter, the two dirtiest players ever. Dominican Sue,
Yeah, Albert Hansworth has to be
Al-
mentioned.
uh, Conrad Dobler,
Yes.
leg whipping people.
Oh my God.
That is great. So Xavier, Xavier Watts. Who do we have about him? Where are we kind of thinking about him? He kind of reminds me of like a lesser version of Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that he plays safety because we've seen over the past few years the NFL really doesn't value safeties the way they once did. So like when I see like Malachi Starks is obviously the top rated safety in this class, and some people have him ranked as a top 10 prospect. To me, there's no chance in hell he goes in the top 10 because you're not drafting a safety in the top 10. Like it's just not going to happen. And I think the same thing is going to be true for Xavier Watts in the second round because Xavier Watts to me is probably a top 40, top 50 prospect. And I think you're probably looking end of the second round is probably when he's going to be coming off the board. But I think there's a lot of teams that would make a lot of sense. We go back to the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks would be a great fit for them. They've been trying to, when you think back to not just the Legion of Boom, but even thereafter, the safety play was a real strength of that defense, and it's kind of diminished over the past few years. So I think he's someone who could make a lot of sense in Seattle. I think that they don't necessarily have a need there, but the Ravens love a good safety. He seems like a Ravens type of guy that would just thrive there. Him and Kyle Hamilton, two Notre Dame safeties in the defensive backfield. So I'm looking kind of that range for teams that could be looking at Watts.
The team I got here, I think they could really use him, and it would be to my detriment. Carolina Panthers. I feel like
Ooh, yeah.
you put him back there, they give him like another player because I mean, like, I feel like the first round they're going to go with some sort of like Abdul Carter, Michael Williams type of player,
Yeah.
Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. You get some guy in the back end because you got to remember Dan Morgan, the linebacker, is the GM there, and he's going to want to build up that side of the ball.
Yeah, 100%. No, that would make a lot of sense. They would. if I'm not mistaken, they would have to trade back into the back of the second round because their second round pick goes to the Bears this year, I believe.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Ryan Poles isn't going to draft him.
No, 100%. I'm not saying he's going to be off the board. I'm just saying you probably got to get into the second round.
This, you know what I think about Ryan Poles? Ryan Poles is the type of guy where like you get one of those like fun bags of like Frito-Lays and
Yeah.
he opens it up. He can't do it. He pops it and it goes all out of the bottom of the bag on the ground. So he lost his soccer baseball game and he doesn't even get to eat his Cheetos.
He's basically Screech, but running an NFL team.
Jim Harbaugh's cousin.
That's right.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Okay, so we got that Riley Leonard, probably a second round pick or something like that. I've tied him to the Jets a little bit. Honestly, he kind of feels like a Steelers sort of player too.
Mhm. One interesting thought I had, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Riley Leonard's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I just don't quite see it. But I think you look at Josh Allen and you look at
Yeah,
Riley Leonard as a potential backup and upgrade over Mitch Trubisky. I think that would make a lot of sense
yeah.
because he's basically the diet version of Josh Allen. Like he obviously can't throw as well, but he has a decent arm. But he doesn't know where it's going, doesn't put it in the right spots a lot of times, but has that big frame, has the body to keep the quarterback run game going if Josh Allen were to miss any time. Like I think that would make a lot of sense.
I could get behind that. It's kind of hard to shake that thought here. What do you think of like the worst place to be, and why is that the Arizona Cardinals?
It's definitely the Arizona Cardinals because, like, I mean, just like Kyler Murray might just have to crawl into a hole because, like, dude's like a foot shorter than Riley Leonard. So, like, that's not going to be a fun time in the quarterback room.
Put him on the Chargers. He's just like Philip Rivers again. Just
All right. We're drafting you because you need to have a lot of kids. I'm not married. Doesn't matter. Just go have 9 kids.
I'm not Catholic. You played at Notre Dame.
You're
I,
Catholic enough for us.
Jim Harbaugh was like, I'm getting my hip replaced. I'm planning on having more kids because
Yep.
that's what he's about. Just having. I'm never gonna get over his kid sitting in his lap at the World Series.
It is what it is. It's hardball stuff.
Yeah, just that people go to prison for that, but that's okay.
Nah.
Nah, I live my best life in a Winnebago. I can't believe I forget he sat next to Antonio Pierce and Doug Peterson with the whole can full of dip.
Oh
Just
yeah. What a guy.
what
Beat
a
of his own
legend.
drum.
Beat him
I
his
don't know if you
own.
saw, he quoted Big Cat yesterday in his press
Did he
conference.
really?
Yeah.
Did
He
he
was he
really?
was asked about Herbert, and apparently Big Cat on Pardon My Take said something to the effect of like, if you're selling Justin Herbert stock, I'm buying it. And he goes, I'm with Big Cat. If you're selling Justin Herbert stock, I'm buying.
Justin Herbert's just like, oh no, he's gonna disappear.
Yeah, 100%.
We're never gonna see him again. He's gonna be like growing shrooms like Jake Plummer.
Yes, indeed.
Ledge. So I got two more. We got JTT and Jack Sawyer. So we think Jack Sawyer is gonna come off the board earlier. You said he's kind of like a just a you made a great point on Blog and Dirty yesterday where you think he could go.
Yeah, so I think the Falcons would make a lot of sense. I also think like you look at Seattle again, you look at Indianapolis even, pairing him with Latu out of UCLA who they drafted last year. Like there's a lot of teams and kind of that I would say not necessarily the Dolphins at 13. So I think the range probably starts at the Colts at 14, but you go all the way from 14 to like 22 and I don't think he makes it through that range quite frankly. Because
We could
22 is the
be
Chargers and like I know he's an Ohio State guy. I don't think Jim Harbaugh actually cares about that as much as people want to
no.
make it out to be. I think he cares about good football players, which Jack Sawyer is. You're about to lose Khalil Mack either to retirement or free agency. Bring Jack Sawyer in there to pair him with Joey Bosa. I think that's a really nice tandem.
I think the Bengals are a fit. He could be
Hmm.
potential Trey Hendrickson insurance because he's probably on an expiring deal.
And I mean, they also don't have a second edge rusher who's worth a damn. So
No. What happened to Sam Hubbard? We lost him.
he's not good, also. So there's that.
Nah, he made that one play versus the Ravens in like the playoffs, and that was it. But yeah, that would be. I could see like again, I guess out of necessity, a position, and then obviously being a integral part of Ohio State's playoff run, he's going to go in the first round. JTT goes a little bit later. Trying to think where would be a good sort of place where he could go.
So Dane Brugler of The Athletic released his mock 2.0 yesterday, and he had him going in the first round at the end to the Eagles, and I can't get that out of my head because I think that's a perfect fit, man. You think of how the Eagles draft that position and how they rotate in guys there. I think that's a perfect guy for like early downs early in his career. Hopefully you develop him as a pass rusher and get him going in that capacity.
I like that. I like the Raiders in the second round too.
Hmm.
I figured that that's a good thing because the Tyree Wilson thing's not going to work.
Yeah.
You get a guy who can ball, play him next to Max Crosby, whoever ends up pairing with Ben Johnson, looking like that's going to be the guy now.
Yeah, which is
Shockingly,
not how I expected this coaching carousel to go.
well, he'll move up heaven and earth to get Shador, and Shador is going to be unbelievable play for him, dude.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be real fun. Real fun.
Oh my god. But yeah, like I did cover the Raiders for a year, so that's kind of my AFC team of notes. So like
Yeah.
I just live in a house of pain. Falcons and Raiders.
I mean, the Raiders are definitely more a cause of pain than the Falcons. Like the Falcons are way more mediocre than the Raiders, who are just a dumpster fire currently.
You, sir, are a mediocre dumpster
That's
fire.
right.
And that's what they say to somebody when they enter the transfer portal. We're gonna do some talk portal to me here. You, sir, are a dumpster fire. It's like what the Arizona State guys say about Jaden Daniels. It's like, yeah, he sucks. Get it, throw
Yeah,
his stuff
get
away.
clean out his locker. Yeah, good call, brother.
So you brought this up. What 2025? Let me see if I can read this correctly on my actual screen.
Mhm.
What 2025 transfer QB could have the same impact that Will Howard and Riley Leonard just did?
So, I mean, it's a interesting thought process because you think of where these two teams were a year ago. Every Ohio State fan wanted to just kick Kyle McCord into the sun. And then Sam Hartman was good, not great. And now you bring in another transfer quarterback, one who is supposed to upgrade things. And lo and behold, they do it. And they take them to the next level. So I'm not necessarily looking at this as necessarily like national championship or bust because I'm not sure that there's many quarterbacks that transferred that really have that type of impact. But in terms of maybe getting to the college football playoff when you weren't really in that mix before, maybe just elevating you to new levels. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. The first one I'm looking at is Miller Moss, who we talked
Yeah,
about when he transferred to Louisville. I think he immediately puts Louisville in the ACC championship mix. And if you're in the ACC championship mix, you're in the college football playoff mix. So I just think he's the perfect quarterback for what Jeff Brom likes to do and the exact type of quarterback we've seen Jeff Brom have a lot of success with.
I really love that one. That one's fantastic. I'll throw two others that help sustain. I think Fernando Mendoza to Indiana and Carson Beck to Miami
Mhm.
do essentially the same sort of thing. They basically got to replace Curtis Rourke and Cam Ward. So in time, I think that both of those teams will be 10 wins or better, playoff viable. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to go a little bit under the radar for mine. And this is going to blow your mind. Connor Wegman to Houston.
Have you changed your tune a little bit?
I just think that his stock has been depreciated so much. I think Willie Fritz is such a good head coach, and I think the power void at the top of the Big 12 can be exploited. Houston played a lot better down the stretch. I just kind of feel that like going against a lesser competition in the Big 12 versus the SEC with Wegman's talent, with the coaching of Fritz, and when Houston plays well, they really sling it. So maybe he's the guy that gets the Cougs to something like 8-4 next year. But they're going to upset somebody significant. I don't know if they're going to be as good as Iowa State, Arizona State,
Right.
BYU, Colorado, Baylor, who I think we're both high on. They'll be that other team. It's like, oh, maybe them. Like
Yeah.
maybe Connor Wegman there at Houston.
No, I think they're going to be like you look at them on the schedule, like we're predicting games for a given week, and it's like, that could be a tricky spot for an Iowa State, an Arizona State, a Baylor, like all of the teams at the top of the Big 12. So like I like that one a lot. Another one I had, which I know you probably don't agree with this, but I think Jackson Arnold, I'm buying Jackson Arnold stock at Auburn because I think Hugh Freeze is the right type of coach to unlock what Jackson Arnold is doing. I think the talent around him is better than it was at Oklahoma. I think there's more of an identity at Auburn and what they're trying to build there. I don't think Hugh Freeze still has a job if that wasn't the case. So like I'm buying the Jackson Arnold stock because I refuse to believe he's as bad as he looked at Oklahoma. I think it was a lot more of an Oklahoma situation. And honestly, it's very similar to Connor Wegman, where you were just thrust into a spot where you weren't done any favors. And now you're going to a spot where I think you're going to be a lot more comfortable.
I like Jackson Arnold to Auburn. I think I've got Auburn to be like I mean, 8, 9 win team next year. They could they could conceivably beat Georgia. Maybe
Mhm.
we'll see what happens. But like Arnold's too talented to have been that bad. So I'm kind of right there with you. I'll add one more, and then we'll go with ones we don't think are good. I
I
like
have
Luke.
I have one more that's very dark horsey.
This one's kind of dark horsey too. I like Luke Hook at Mississippi State
I do like that one too.
because, like, yeah, you still got Blake Shapen or whatever, but like he goes in there and Jeff Lebby seemed that they were playing really hard for him. He's in great shape. Michael Van Buren Jr. played very well under him. I kind of feel like the alignment there is good, and Levy offenses always have success, so I think that that's going to be good.
No, 100%. I think it's a good situation for Crum and Hook to kind of develop and realize his talent. My sleeper, even further down the board, Mark Gronowski out of
That's
South
good. I
Dakota
thought you were
State
going to
going,
say.
yeah, baby. I mean, I just think that he brings something to this Iowa offense that they just haven't had in a long time, man. Like it is his dual threat ability, his experience level, playing quarterback at a high level. Like you even look at something like you look at a Cade McNamara. Yes, he came from a Michigan, a very well-respected program, but nothing Cade McNamara did at Michigan made me think, oh, hell yeah, Iowa got someone that can absolutely change the game. Mark Gronowski has won national championships at the FCS level. Mark Gronowski has set records at the national champion or at the FCS level. Like he is a dude, and like Iowa getting someone like that, I'm not sleeping on it. Like I think that we saw flashes from this Iowa offense, like taking a step forward this past year. I think they take another step forward, and like if Phil Parker's defense continues to be Phil Parker's defense, then if you improve that Iowa offense, they're a threat in the Big Ten.
I feel that. I also like DeQuan Finn going to Miami, Ohio. I also
Mhm.
like Bo Pribula going to Mizzou. Those are the other ones
Yeah.
I like. Now, if I go ones I don't like, probably the biggest one for me, this might actually shock you. I don't like Darian Minson at Duke.
Really? Okay.
I kind of feel that they're not leaving well enough alone.
That's probably I think that does make sense. Like you had a good thing with Malik Murphy this past year.
So that's one other one. I'm kind of also dubious of Thomas Castellanos at Florida State, just because
Okay.
like they're going to be looking at him as the panacea for what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily know how it ended for him with Gus Malzahn at UCF. You're from Waycross, you're essentially like right down there by Tallahassee. You're not being so far away up at Chestnut Hill. So like there's a lot of pressure on Thomas Castellanos.
No, I like the Castellanos pick. I'm kind of torn because I like Castellanos as a
Me too.
player. I really and yeah, I was about to say I know you do too. So like, but it's just the vibes could not be worse in Tallahassee right now. Is really what it boils down to, and like
Mhm.
that's not a good situation for someone to be transferred into because, like you said, there's going to be unfair expectations placed on him. I'm going to go really high in terms of transfer portal rankings and kind of in a similar situation to Florida State, John Mateer. I think John Mateer
Yes.
is a good player. I think that he deserves to be at a program the caliber of Oklahoma. I just think the quarterback was not the issue at Oklahoma. I think they have a lot more issues that they have to unpack. The wide receiver core might actually somehow be worse than it was last year. And the offensive line, I don't know if it's going to be upgraded. I don't think they've solved the offensive coordinator problem. I worry about that move from Washington State to Oklahoma. Like, how are you going to work against the SEC? Like, we've seen SEC defenses figure out these kind of gimmicky offenses before. I don't know, man. I just don't think this is the cure all that a lot of fans in Norman probably think it is.
I'm right there with you. Also, Ben Arbuckle, I don't even think he's 30. So like
Yeah,
you're going from like Pullman, Washington, to Norman, Oklahoma. So you're going from like the most remote outpost of like the old Pac-12
yeah,
to essentially suburban Oklahoma City, where this is the number one thing besides the Thunder, who might actually win the NBA Finals this year. Like
right.
this is a big deal that I mean, people are just gonna be rabid about this. I kind of feel that Oklahoma's in a really weird spot. I'm trying to think who else. I also think Chandler Morris to Virginia is interesting. They're kind of looking at him like he played really well at North Texas,
Mhm.
but we remember him at TCU and that did not work out.
Yeah,
So is he really that much of an upgrade from Anthony Calandra, who I think will have a lot of success at UNLV?
yeah. UNLV's quarterback room is absolutely wild. They've got Alex Orgy and the Whoopsie Daisy King Anthony Calandria. Shouts to UNLV. Um, but yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I'm intrigued by that at Virginia. I Chandler Morris, kind of an enigmatic quarterback in and of himself. The other one who I've tried to talk myself into it, and I'm just don't know if I can get there. Caden Salter at Colorado.
Yeah.
I am a little bit dubious of it because you look at what Shador Sanders did under Pat Shurmur in this Colorado offense, a lot different than what Jamie Chadwell and Liberty been running at in with Caden Salter. And is Pat Shurmur going to adjust, or is he going to try to fit Caden Salter a square peg into a round hole? I don't like. I need to see it before I believe it because right now the fit is a little bit weird. One that we didn't mention in terms of ones that I like that I think might be going under the radar a little bit. Devin Dampier going to Utah.
Yeah.
I think that could be really interesting because Dampier, he was the only reason New Mexico was even fighting for a bowl. Frankly, that team was awful, but he was really special. And like getting him in Utah, program with Kyle Whittingham that knows how to like use very unique players. Cam Rising was a unique player. Players before him were unique players. Like that's just kind of Utah's MO. I think Dampier is a really nice fit there.
I think the one of for intrigue for me is JK Ask going to Cal.
Ooh, I do like that. Yeah.
Because I feel like he was like it was either going to be Cal or Georgia, and it was just
Mhm.
kind of like back West Coast. I feel like he's going to have a lot of success there. I don't recall who the OC is there for the Golden Bears, but like they've got it. They've kind of got it figured out. I don't know, like they're more at home in the ACC than we thought. I don't know why. It seems like it's fun.
Brian Harson is the OC at Cal.
Is he? Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Brian Harsin will be a head coach here soon again, and I did know that. I just think that the SEC, I think the SEC, I think it's just Auburn just ate them alive, which Auburn
Oh
knows
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's the
mean
hardest
that's
job in the
that's
country.
just Auburn-esque. Like, it almost made me curse, but like that's just the most Auburn-esque in the entire world.
And Auburn's mantra is hell in a bad place to be. Yes, we're going to finish up the show with a double feature of Just Like Novocaine here with some AC/DC. Obviously, we're back in black. We're going to do 6 Bon Scott songs and then 6 Brian Johnson songs. And we're going to basically pick a person, place, or thing associated with either Notre Dame or Ohio State for each of these 12 songs. So we're
Yeah.
going to work our way through the catalog. Let's start with, oh my God. We're going to start with It's a Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll. Who is that for you?
Oh, that's Marcus Freeman, baby. We're starting off with a heavy hitter. It's a long way to the top. You came into this job having to quote unquote live up to the shoes or the stature of Brian Kelly. Well, you've already surpassed what Brian Kelly ever did at Notre Dame. You're playing in a national championship game. So kudos to you, brother. And I think that, still might be a longer way to the top because I don't think you're going to get the win on Monday.
I've got Marcus Freeman a little bit later. I've got his counterpart, Ryan Day, being born on
Nice.
third base. It's a long way to the
There we
top of
go.
what rock and roll. He's probably like, I've been paying my dues. Like he thinks that like by living vicariously through Bon Scott's lyrics about, just get your ass kicked in the Australian club scene. Like that was him. I'm like, just because you played in New Hampshire doesn't mean it was the same experience.
It is not. That's not the vibe I've ever gotten from New Hampshire.
No, sir. Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, which is who is that one for you?
First off, it's the song that's been stuck in my head since we started doing this and putting this together. I went with Tyleik Williams, the interior defender for the Ohio State Buckeyes, because we've already done it on this show multiple times. We've talked about Jack Sawyer, we've talked about JTT, we're gonna talk about Caleb Downs. I feel like Tyleik Williams doesn't get talked about at all. But you know what he does? He absolutely eats up space and wrecks games through the middle of the field. So he's doing them dirt cheap. He's not getting the recognition, but it's dirty deeds, baby.
Okay, hopefully I can say mine. I'm going to go with the biggest Ohio State booster, Les Wexner, with the NIL war chest. And if I can't really expound upon that, maybe let's put Ross Bjork there.
There we go. Ross Bjork.
That song is great. Bon Scott said his phone number, and people would call him. And if you
Oh,
called it, it's like the Australian version of 8675309. Like you can like listen to it out there.
I would the Australian version of 281-330-8004.
Call me anytime.
That's right.
Who's gonna make a jailbreak?
That's Jeremiah Love, baby. We know he's good for one big win every game. Like that's just kind of what Jeremiah Love does, man. He's going to jailbreak and kind of get Ohio State fans in their feelings a little bit. Don't think he's going to do it often enough for it to matter, but I do think he gets loose for at least one big play.
Yes, I don't think I have him on here. I've got another Jeremiah later, but this is actually my favorite AC/DC song. So the first few lines are a friend of mine's on murder and the judge's gavel fell. The jury found him guilty, gave him 16 years in hell. Then he's like, I ain't spending my life here. I ain't living alone. I ain't breaking no rocks in the chin game. I'm breaking out and heading home. That's Brian Hartline. He's gonna leave at some point.
He's going to.
He's like, I'm heading home. Like this is home, but that's the Ohio of it all. He's just going. He's like,
I've been in Ohio for 16 years. I got to break out of this prison.
The bullet in his back. Okay, whole lot of Rosie. Okay, we've arrived at the song.
Had to do it, man. I'm going with Charles Dragusa, man. I think that that's a whole lot of man meat out there, a whole lot of Rosie out there, and how he holds up is going to determine a lot of what Notre Dame does in this game, quite frankly.
Charles Dragusa. I have him a little bit later, but yeah, that's on here too. Obviously, my girlfriend spells her name different with a Y, like the adjective as opposed to like the name. So, but if I'm going to dedicate this one to her, I'm like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. And I said, I'm going to figure out which player she's most likely to say one of her catchphrases to dogs. You're a baby.
You're a baby.
And that's Riley Leonard.
Oh yeah, 100%. You're a baby.
You're a baby.
You're a baby.
I don't really add a whole lot to that. Who's got down payment blues?
So I have two for this one, and I went Al Golden and Jim Knowles, two overqualified defensive coordinators making their down payments on their houses in South Bend and Columbus. And man, you might want to make a down payment somewhere else because you deserve a head coaching job. You're way overqualified for what you're doing currently.
That's better than mine. Mine's also funnier. I've got Lou Holtz here because I got holes in my shoes.
I got holes in my shoes.
He's been like, he bought a house and just hasn't been paying it, the down payment. It's like, sir, it's gonna get foreclosed. Not under my president. He'll take it from you faster.
Oh, 100%. I have old Lou coming here in a little bit.
Who's on a highway to hell?
Technically, that'd be the Notre Dame defense, but I have Jeremiah Smith written down because he's going to take him on the highway to hell, brother. Jeremiah Smith finished last week with one catch for 4 yards, I think it was, or 3 yards, something like that. Do not imagine that being repeated in the national championship game. I think Jeremiah Smith might get a few catches and really put Notre Dame's defense in a bad place.
I've got Jeremiah Smith a little bit later. For highway to hell for me, I've got his offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, who, just burned a lot of bridges, which is fire and brimstone.
Oh, yeah.
A season ticket on a one-way ride, ask nothing, leave me be, just going.
Oh, yeah.
Highway to hell. Chip Kelly, yes.
Chip Kelly, I love it.
Pouring out for Bon Scott, who died in his car because he got partied too much at 33 years old. It happens. It's fine.
It's like that.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
Then they came in with Brian Johnson with his cap and his Weasley voice, and he's just a very interesting looking dude. They're all are.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting looking band.
Also, the fact that like the Young Brothers are like a whopping like 5'2".
Oh yeah, 100%. Still out there doing it though, man.
Tiny little bitches.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's like, here's these other guys. Here's a guy dancing around in a school uniform with like a 5th grade education. The Antonio Banderas. All right, who's back in black?
Oh, that's Lou Holtz, baby. I just imagine in my mind like Notre Dame just like raising him up out of like on a platform before the game and just like having him stare down Ryan Day for 60 minutes and just trying to get in his head. He's like, you want to know where Lou Holtz is? Lou Holtz is right here, brother.
It's been too long. Glad you're back.
That's right.
I'm gonna go with Ohio State edge rusher Jack Sawyer here because I figure he uses this song to pump himself up.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Probably the ACC's biggest hit. You shook me all night long. Who do you got for that?
So I went with Travion Henderson, mostly because I started thinking of I couldn't get it out of my head, so I had to put it down. But just like setting like a TikTok edit of him taking that screen 75 yards to the house against Texas and setting it to "You Shook Me All Night Long" as he's running down the sideline. Like, can't get that out of my head. So it's Travion, baby.
I love that. This is another one that's not politically correct or nice. I've got Marcus Freeman because he's got a lot of kids.
That's right.
But also he's wooing and wowing all the teams who need an NFL head coach. He shook them all night long. The Jets and the Bears, they ain't seen nothing like this.
That's right.
For those about to rock, we salute you. Who do you got for that?
That's where I got Seth McLaughlin. Obviously not playing in this game, but dude's been a figure that we've seen on the sidelines every game. After the Tennessee win, he's over there smoking his cigar as a former Alabama player. So, he's not playing, but for those that are about to rock, he salutes them.
I've got some more alignment here. This is where I've got Charles Jagusa. His
Okay.
pec doesn't work, but he's out there being a gladiator in a
That's
gladiator
right.
sport. For those about to rock, we salute you.
Hell
Fire.
yes. Hell yes.
Got a question. Who made who?
Uh, I think the $20 million roster might have made Ryan Day because that's who I have for this one. Look, man, I'm still not sure Ryan Day's like the best head coach, quite frankly, but he might win a national championship and that'll get a lot of people off of his back.
Song's about so the show's about a car.
That's right.
Somebody bought like the cars from like Maximum Overdrive and then like put it like in a junkyard. So there's like a giant like clown face in a car just chilling in someone's like hoarding shed in Indiana somewhere.
There's a dude who in my younger years, went to church with who he has like a good job in tech now, and he bought a DeLorean. Like that was like his first adult purchase was like, I'm just gonna buy and restore a DeLorean. And I was like, you know what? I respect it.
I mean, you could make a Faraday cage like my high school friend did and nearly blow out the power grid, but you got to account for moisture. But more importantly, get yourself a DeLorean and have a good time.
That's right.
For me, for who made who, I've got Mike Denbrock because who made who? Did Jaden Daniels make him or did he make Jaden Daniels? Did Riley Leonard make him or did he make Riley Leonard? I don't know.
We'll find out, I'm pretty sure.
Uh, one thing that Riley Leonard might say when he gets a first down is says, "You've been thunderstruck."
You know what? You might have read my mind because I have Riley Leonard down for Thunderstruck. And kind of just how he plays the game, man. Dude has reckless abandon when it comes to his body's health and just puts it all out on the line. And again, I don't know why I got on the Travion Henderson thing and I just started thinking about TikTok edits and I was just thinking about Riley Leonard rushing highlights set to Thunderstruck. And I think it would fit pretty damn well. Like him just like making contact with a linebacker and like mowing him over, and it's been, you bet, thunderstruck.
I can't tell if it's a chainsaw or a guy saying that, but it's in my head. But if you play the drinking game, you forget all about that. You just
I have no idea what the lyrics are, just that they say thunder way too many times, man.
I had a guy in my chapter whose nickname was Thunder, and we used to play that with him. He was like, Thunder. He was a big dude. He's like, for me, I've got Jeremiah Smith because he's just going to be thundering and lightning all over the Notre Dame defense.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And last one, come on, listen to the Money Talks. So who's Money Talks?
Oh, that's Caleb Downs, baby. We know he got a nice fat check to go from Alabama to Ohio State. And you know what? He's the money's gonna be talking when he's a high draft pick in a couple years because dude is that damn good, but he's definitely sitting back there with the money phone talking on it.
I love that. And I'm going to finish with Notre Dame AD, Pete Bavacqua, because they don't got to share any of that money with the ACC.
That's right. That's a good point. That's a good one.
This was episode 143 of False Start. Yes, there we go. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter, the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFP False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts.
Oh
my God. That blew my mind. I was not ready for that. There are 5 members of ACDC at any given time, so please give us a 5-star review.
That's right.
Yeah, that was fun. We hadn't done JLN in a while. We've got some other ideas coming down the pipeline. We'll probably do a replacements episode where we talk about the movie The Replacements and the band The Replacements.
That's right, baby.
We've talked about doing Puddle of Mud.
Yeah, we are. Well, no, we've not talked about it. We're doing Puddle of Mud.
Can you take it all the way? We're gonna do a Biggie versus Tupac one. Probably do Dre and Snoop.
Yes.
Gotta do something country. That would be ridiculous. That would be Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks, Alan Jack. We got plenty of country options still available.
Yeah, yes, we do. Alan Jackson.
Yes, sir. Wait on yonder on the Chattahoochee.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, isn't it?
That's right, baby.
If you want pod, you got it. And this is false start.